caught me playing with my bubbles. And no, I'm not reliving my childhood. I was just introducing the kind of wreath I'm planning to make today. Welcome back to Paper Dreamer 1 here on YouTube, Donna's Dreamworks. And we're going to do another bubble wreath today. This is a little story behind these. These are those little like favors you get at weddings and things. And I brought one home from an event because I thought my cat would have fun chasing the bubbles around. And actually she did for the first 2 times. After which she now looks at me and says, okay, so what's the next trick? So I still have all these bubbles. It is kind of fun to blow them though. So I thought I'd just try it this morning. Anyway, and anyhow, I have to tell you the reason I'm making a bubble wreath today is because I have had death of a wreath. Now it doesn't look horrible, but it is so faded. It is so faded. This was a bright pink and blue. Originally it was an Easter wreath a year ago. I used it again for an Easter wreath and then took off some of the Easter things and put on some ribbons. But it's just so bright, the Florida sun, that after a while I said, you know, I think it needs to be retired. So we're going to retire this darling today and come up with a bubble wreath. Now this is on a fairly large frame. I think this is probably the 24-inch frame, and the one I'm making is not going to be as large, but I think it'll work out just fine. I'm going to start by showing you I did go to Hobby Lobby yesterday and picked up just a few things. I've been so frustrated that I can't find any of the products that I want. I don't make wreaths for selling necessarily, and I don't deal wholesale, so I have to be a retail purchaser like a lot of you guys, and nobody has had supplies, and especially the supplies I wanted. So I thought I would try Hobby Lobby and pick up a little bit of mesh. Now I'm not a big fan of Hobby Lobby mesh, but I think that it will work out all right for the project I'm thinking of. I want to make one of those seaside wreaths, I guess you'd call them, made on a rail frame. And the bottom looks like the sand, the middle looks like the water, and then the top layer looks like the sky. And I could not find those 3 colors anywhere when I looked. But I did find them at Hobby Lobby. So we have the sand, we have the water, and we have the sky. And as I said, I'm not a big fan of Hobby Lobby mesh, but I'm going to be using 30-inch ruffles, so I think the fact that it's not very dense is not really going to make a big impact on the whoops, I'm knocking you right over, and it's not going to make a big impact on it. Now what I have to get is the rail frame, which of course Hobby Lobby didn't have. I can get that at Craft Outlet, but you know, I really hate to buy one thing or a couple of things at Craft Outlet and have to pay all of that shipping, so maybe I'll have to find a few other things to buy. I also picked up, this happened to be at a hardware store on the way home, I picked up another package of these twisty ties or zip ties. Also at Hobby Lobby, I'm going to be making 2 wreaths, and so I wanted to get some ribbon for the other wreath too. And this other wreath is going to be in shades of blue, so I got these 2. I thought they were kind of pretty, and of course the ribbon was 50% off. And then for the ribbon, the wreath we're going to make today, I'm just going to make a simple bow out of this one. It's really difficult to put a lot of things on a bubble wreath because the bubbles are so close together. So, but anyway, let's get busy and make a bubble wreath, and I'm going to move you down. I'll be right back. Okay, here we are. This is the mesh I'm going to use. It's a really nice bright pink, and this one I actually got at Walmart, And it is the 21 inch by 10 yard. And it again is not a very heavy mesh, but I think the bubble treatment will lead it to itself quite well. So I'm going to move this way just a little bit so you get a better view. And if you remember with the bubble method, we're going to just start by gathering the top. And I'm going to use one of the crossbars, okay, with a zip tie. And I'm going to put the mesh, and I'm going to go in on one side of the crossbar and out on the other side of the crossbar. Not necessarily that far apart. And preferably putting the zip tie in the right direction. We will zip it down. Okay, and that's just going to go down through the frame, and you can see here I went in on this side, came out on this side of the crossbar. I'm going to make 10-inch bubbles, and I'll use my mat because it is right in front of me. And right now, with where I'm standing, I have a 7 right in front of me here, so I'm going to go 7 to 17, 10-inch bubble, and I'm going to come right back up to the frame and use a pipe cleaner. Now you can use pipe cleaners or zip ties. Some people say they find it easier with the zip ties. I personally find it easier with the pipe cleaners or chenille stems or whatever you want to call them. I'm going to put it on there I'm going over the middle 2 rings and just give it a good twist. And you really can twist it as much as you want because you're not going to go back and revisit this again. And kind of pop it out, okay? Start at the 7 and go up to the 17. I had a lot of good comments on this wreath, and the reason that I like making them in the fact that it uses up a whole roll of mesh, so you don't have a lot of pieces of 21-inch mesh. Not such a problem with the 10-inch mesh because you can usually find something, either some curls or some ruffles that you can use on another piece. But the 21-inch mesh, when you have it left over, it's like, now what do I do with it? But it's been very frustrating that these companies, I guess there's so many people who have taken up wreath making that maybe the supply does not match the demand at this point in time. But it certainly has been difficult to find items that I wanted to use. Fortunately, the wreath that I'm making, now what we're doing is pushing them together, okay? Now I've made 3, and I'm going to take the 3rd one, and I'm going to actually wrap it in the back with the first one, because there's enough hanging out here. It does 2 things. It flattens it down a bit, and it keeps these up tight. Okay, so I'll just continue. I think in this first section, I usually get 6. Now this is kind of a thin mesh, so I'm hoping that I'll have enough to go all the way around. But you know, you don't have to make them as tight as I did the first time, because they do create quite a nice puff. this is the 5th one, and that's exactly what I'll get in here is 6. And you don't have to measure. They don't have to be exactly the same, but with the mat right in front of me, it's just as easy for me to do that. So now you won't get 6 in each one of these sections because they get tighter and tighter as you go round. Isn't this pretty? Look at that. And from the side, even though it's not a heavy mesh, okay, on to the second section. Now, every time you start a new section, of course they're going to move around because there's nothing, they're not being pushed against themselves yet. Now this is a Dollar Tree form. I'll tell you a little story. I had another wreath that I had made that I was taking apart, so I was reusing the form. And when I had originally used this form, I had put ties on it and had glued them so they wouldn't be flying all over the place. Well, that made it interesting to try to take them all off because I did a very good job and I couldn't get them off again. So good old wire cutters. I was listening to a few of the crafters out there, and I guess about everybody is getting some pretty warm summer weather now, although I guess in New England, where I'm originally from, it hadn't been all that nice. But it is. I was just watching some of the US Open, and that's in Long Island, New York, so, and it looked like it was a nice day there. I think it's going to be in the mid-70s. That's 20 degrees lower than it will be here. And it's that way every day and every day and every day. That was 3, I think, in this section. And I use the pipe cleaners are just cut in half because you don't need the whole thing. I'll let you hear what I'm doing in the back. I'm just bringing them around and twisting. And I'm going to push this up here, and now I've done 3, so I'm going to bring this up to skip 1 and bring it up to 1 above that. Okay, and it just holds it tight. And I think I can get 1 more in this section. And after I get this one in, I will show you where I'm putting this pipe cleaner. It's difficult to see with the mesh here. I kind of put my finger on it at the top. What that does is push it tight against the frame so that I'm getting a tight twist on the outside, other side. Okay, what I'm doing with the pipe cleaner, going around the mesh, and I'm going in here and in here. Okay, so I'm right over the middle 2 pieces. On to the next section. And I might do this one also in 2 parts, only because I don't know about you, but I'm not really into watching hour-long YouTubes. I'm retired, and I don't necessarily have something I have to do right at the moment. Sometimes I do, but I just would rather see some 25, 30 minutes and see a couple of them. Because then I don't feel, I know you can always stop it and come back, but I just rather watch one to the end and then watch a second one. So we'll see how long this is going by the time I get this done. These really puff out nicely. Looking good, huh? The first time I saw somebody make one of these, it was a lady by the name of Carmen, and she does use the twist ties. I've seen other people use the twist ties. And then a second person I've seen make them is Lori over at Hardworking Mum. And when I made the patriotic one, I think I mentioned, I think that was the first time I ever made this particular type. So it's not difficult. And they go around quite quickly, actually. Now the next one, as I mentioned, that I'm going to make, I have some blue mesh that I've had for a while that I got at Joann's when they were having a sale. So I thought I would, they're 10-inch rolls. So I thought I would make something using some ruffles. Right now, I have the air conditioning. I'm what I call downstairs. Now, I live in a mobile home, so there isn't really what you'd call a basement. I'm at ground level. But our ground level, which would be the same level as my driveway, and the same level as our sheds, is all under roof. So, I'm actually in a shed. We have 2 down here. This is a little teeny one, and so I confiscated it for making wreaths. It's really as tight quarters for working on them, but it works just fine. And then the other one is big, and the air conditioner is in the other shed, and there's a window between the 2 of them because, of course, down here is not insulated, so it's not under central air. And I will tell you, it gets warm down here. I'm going on to the next section now. And I usually have a fan going right here that's in the window between the 2 sheds. But if I do that, and if I put it on, you'll hear nothing but a roar, as I'm sure those of you who have been around with me for a while will realize, because occasionally I have it on and forget to shut it off when I start the camera. I just tied two together again. And I think the bow I'm going to make is just going to be a single color, maybe 6 or 8 loop bow. And I don't know what else I might put on. The problem is you don't have a lot of give and take with this kind of a style, because it's so tight between the ruffles. The bubbles, not the ruffles, Donna. That's the next one. Now this weekend, this is now early afternoon on Thursday, and this weekend we'll be going to like a get-together we have at one of our clubhouses. It's called a Rounders Dinner, and it has once a month, and it is for exactly what the name implies, those people who live here year-round, which is about 25% of the total population that lives here. So we're few and far between in the summertime, and it's nice to get together and talk with each other. And what happens is we celebrate everybody's birthdays and anniversaries. So I'm going to be busy because I have a lot of birthdays and anniversaries, and if possible, I'd like to make my cards. And what I'll do is basically make the same card for all the anniversary people and the same card that would be generic enough for all of the birthday people. So I might take you along while I make one of those over the weekend. I always get nervous when I get to about this point. That roll begins to look pretty skinny. And I'm hoping I have enough to go around. And you know, where this mesh is not very heavy, it might be a bit of a stretch. But I think we're going to give it the old college try. I think I'm going to get one more here. I might actually put this one in the next one. I probably am talking to myself. I do that a lot. I think that's part of a retirement thing too. Sometimes there's nobody else here to talk to. Besides, when you talk to yourself, you get the answers that you want most of the time. Now I'm not going to pull these too tight right now until I see how I'm doing as far as going around, because it's getting tight with my mesh. And if you get a section when you're finished that doesn't look as nice or as puffy as some of the others, and I could actually begin to see the cardboard on this, so it's going to be interesting. Anyway, if you find a place that's not as puffy as some of the others, it's a good place to put your bow. I think I will get 2 more. Maybe. Maybe, baby. If you have a better quality mesh, I think you'll have a better job of going around because not so many will fit. And of course they put 2, 3, 4 staples in this. I don't know where they thought it was going. I am going to do another gathering, and I'm going to use a zip tie for this one because it is at the end. I'm going to do that again because I had the zip tie on incorrectly, and by the time I got it turned around, fortunately I didn't tighten it, so I'll just stick it right back under there. Well, a couple of strings here from the ends. Here you go. What do you think? I love the way they come out. They're so puffy. Now this part right here, to me, is just a little less puffy than some of the others because we was running out of mesh. So this is where I'm going to put the bow. And I think we probably got time for them to make the bow today because I'm not sure what else I'm going to put on there. And I'm just going to do a simple loop bow. I'm coming down, I'm going to have a little overhang, and I'm going to twist it. I'm going to come up first and do it to cover that little space. Twist, come up, twist, twist, twist in between them all. Twist, twist again, and twist. I'm going to make a big long piece. And I bring this up. Put that right in the middle. And I'll take one of these little pipe cleaners that I already have out now. It won't be big enough to attach it to the wreath, but we'll get it tied together. And this is kind of I don't really think this is wired, or if it is, it's very lightly wired. But I think it's going to be just fine for this particular wreath because it is going to hang outside and it's going to take a lot of wear and tear from the weather. So let me get, let me see. I'm going to get I'm going to get a piece of wire. Be right back. I didn't have it in here. I can hear thunder already. It's that time of day. I'm going to come around again. I'm just going to give this a nice twist. And I'm going to find this little spot that we thought was a little bit less puffy. And find my 2 pieces of wire. I'm going in between a couple of these bubbles to get down to the frame. And I'm knocking everything on the floor. As I said, it's not the biggest place in the world to work. Just a little something for added color. I'm going to cut this in half. And I think I'll do just a diagonal cut on this one. cute little something something. Now I have this garland, and I'm not sure if I can get this to go around. It's kind of pretty, but I'm really thinking it might be hazardous out there in the weather. If the wind blows. And I will have to get out my glue gun and glue them on. I'm not sure I'm going to like that. I think what I might do is just, they are kind of pretty, the flowers. So I think I might kind of cut it apart and then just put it in sections. So I will show you the finished thing. I'm not going to do that now because I don't have my glue gun heated up, but I'll show you the finished product at the end, and then we'll call it a day for this one. We'll look at it without. I kind of like it without it, actually. I might just take a couple of little flowers off and just put them here and there instead of making it quite so full of the flowers. But I'll think about that, and you'll see the picture at the end. I'll talk with you later, and thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you had a good time. Bye-bye. Okay, here we are back with a quick recap. I didn't want to leave you without showing you what it finished up like. I have put just a few ribbons and bows and a few of those flowers around. I don't want to put too much because it's going out in the wind and the rain. But I do love the bubble. It really makes a pretty wreath. Oh, it does not go with my shirt at all. I'll do it this way. So there you go. There's a bubble wreath. So I retired my old one and in with the new. Okay, so that's it again. And again, I'll say, great to have you here. I wanted to give a shout out to my new subscribers. I've had probably a dozen in the last week. And it's really exciting to see the new folks that are coming along. If you enjoyed the video and my silly antics, hit subscribe and the bell, and we'll let you know the next time I put one of these funny things up. And in the meantime, everybody have a great afternoon. Right now it's nice. I think we're in for some thunderstorms this afternoon. Everybody stay safe, stay dry, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.